Just a heads up, not only is this a speed paint, it's an extra fast speed paint because it's been sped up so many times. So if you are photosensitive in any way, this is not a video for you. Hello everybody, it's a late night Moonkitty here after running out of time on a different video. Which I guess isn't too surprising, and you might say, oh, but Moonkitty, didn't you give yourself more time recently between videos? Yeah, and I got really far in working on all sorts of things, and spent the better part of 1 week on Thornclaw, which I didn't finish, and the better part of another week finishing my last video, which ended up being longer than anticipated at nearly 3 minutes. And then for my birthday, I spent a few days updating my Minecraft server, which I guess isn't really a birthday activity, but I'm ancient, so don't worry about it. Then this week it was time for me to make I Spoil Sprites for my Patreon, and yeah, you get it. No worries though. I'll be in better shape next week, seeing as I've got like 3 half-finished videos to pick from. This speed paint took me, 12 hours or so. I started recording at about 1:30 p.m. and finished about the same time a.m. Well, okay, finished is a strong word for how this one went. Like, it's not really to the level that I would have allowed it to be at if I had a little bit more time, but... okay, it's 1:30 a.m. and you're sitting there toggling with sliders trying to figure out what's going to look better, and it's definitely at a point where it's like, okay, you know what? This looks almost done, so we're good. Yesterday, or depending on how you categorize the word yesterday, the day before yesterday, I was like, okay, I'm not finishing this video I'm working on now in one day, so I'll spend tomorrow working on a speed paint, and I did. I had decided that I wanted to do Brightheart somehow because I think that she's one of the characters that has like over 4 people calling for me to draw her in my Cats to Draw channel on Discord. But then late last night on my Patreon, somebody was like, can you draw Moonpaw? Without using the suggestions channel. Don't forget that I remember that. I'll remember that for until the end of time. That you said that to me in questions and not in the Cats to Draw channel. We're gonna remember it until death. To clarify, I said this because I thought it was funny and not because I'm actually upset with anyone. Anyway, somebody went into questions and was like, can you draw Moonpaw? Like trying to get me to make it a Moonpaw speed paint instead of whatever the heck I had planned because I have no agency, I'm Moonkitty. And I was like, oh, okay, I was already going to draw Brightheart and she is still alive, so I guess I could just scooch it over to a time period that's more appropriate so I can put like Moonkit in the picture. But there starts to be a bit of a problem when you're adding more and more characters to a scene, and that problem is that suddenly you're adding more and more hours of rendering to your painting, like just instantly. And this is entirely on me. I should have just picked one character and been like, I'm painting this cat, and then I should have painted it in 2 hours and then been like, done, and not put a background on it or anything. This is just entirely me drawing too many cats at once. But that's why you don't get a discount adding more characters to a scene when you're asking for a commission, and why people ask for it on a character-by-character basis, you know? I had a lot of trouble deciding how to pose the other 2 kits, Golden Kit and Shine Kit, because, I'm not really keen on drawing a character from the back. Do you know what I mean? It's not that I'm super bad at it, I'm just not, I feel like I'm not making them look good if I can't see their faces, you know? That's just a little me thing, I guess. So it didn't really end up being about Brightheart, but I would say that Brightheart's the one who turned out looking the best out of all of them, so she has that going for her. Oh, wait, before somebody asks, this is Clip Studio Paint. The program I am using is Clip Studio Paint. The brushes I am using, I got a long time ago, renamed several times, and heavily modified, so it's really, really hard for me to tell people which ones exactly they are or where they came from. After I'm done with the sketch, I started kind of blocking in a background. I got a couple references for the kinds of plants and trees that would be around, and then didn't actually use those references for the plants because I decided it would be too time-consuming to draw the plants. I considered making a brush for the leaves and the flowers on these bushes, but I just didn't have the energy once I hit the time that I was working on the bushes. Which is ironic considering how much time I spend fiddling with them. Oh, wait, I never actually listed out all the characters who were in this video. Okay, so from left to right, we have Cloudtail Elder, Brightheart Elder, Moonkit, who is a kit, obviously, Brambleclaw Elder, and then Thornclaw Elder, and then in the front, we have Shinepaw and Goldenpaw. I did kind of fail at making some of these elders look like they're actually old and not, just normal adult cats, but I thought about it a whole bunch before I finished and then never actually went in and did anything about it. You can tell I'm a bit rusty in the whole, doing any artwork at all area at this point. Cloudtail's face is not looking good, and I definitely realized that and just paint over the entire thing to change it right afterwards. Amazing. 30 minutes of Moonkitty trying to remember what a cat looks like. That's why I like to paint, though. With a line art drawing, usually you're kind of stuck with whatever horrible mistake you made to some extent. Obviously, you can redraw anything in any drawing, but with a painting, I can just, put a blob of some other color on top of it and then color over that again and then be like, okay, I like this better. It's so easy and simple because I don't need to worry about if or not anything's perfect. If it looks good enough, it's like, yeah, that looks fine. I'm good. I'm obviously just the opposite of whatever a perfectionist is. I want something to be completed and done and over with all the time, constantly. So even if I set out going, okay, I'm going to make my masterpiece, a couple hours later I'm like, wow, this looks like, good enough, I'm done. There's a lot of, diminishing returns, I would say, when it comes to making something. I could spend an extra hour making it 10% better, but if the first 90% already only took an hour anyway, you know, what's that extra hour for? I mean, obviously, like I said earlier, I probably would have spent slightly more time on this one overall had I given myself a little bit more time to complete it, but at the same time, I look at what I ended up with and I think, you know what, that's fine. That looks pretty finished. I'm not worried about it. Brightheart might be the cutest one in this picture, but I'm really dissatisfied with my choice of the base color that I used. It's just really dull. It doesn't look vibrant like an orange cat looks vibrant. It looks kind of, a little bit sad and desaturated. And don't get me wrong, my favorite colors in the world are gray and brown, and the more desaturated, the better on both of them. But I think that when I'm drawing a cat and I want the cat to look orange, I like to keep it looking like an orange cat does. They're just so naturally vibrant in real life, so I'm not entirely happy with this color choice, but I guess it does make her look a little bit old, but it's not really like an orange cat's color fades as she gets older, you know? Not that I'm even 1% interested in my Warrior Cats fan art being realistic. I just like the contrast that it makes between characters. For the first time in my life, I am saying, I'm sorry, Brambleclaw. I accidentally forgot to record myself painting his entire face. But you know what, I'll paint his entire body right here for you. He's the one that looks a little bit too young, especially compared to the others. It's because I didn't give him any, like, old man eye bags or anything. I was going to for sure, but I totally forgot. I actually think that they did probably the best possible thing that they could with Bramblestar's character, after Squirrelflight's Hope. I think that this is probably the best direction they could have taken him in. I never wanted any sort of confrontation. I never wanted any scene where all the cats look at Bramblestar and they're like, wow, you gotta get your act together, man. Honestly, I just wanted him to treat Squirrelflight better. That was it. Like, all I wanted from the books, if there was ever going to be anything, was, for him to treat Squirrelflight better before she died. And we got that, but we also got more because I really like Elder Brambleclaw. I'm okay with Bramblepaw. I kind of like Bramblepaw. I don't like Brambleclaw. I don't like Bramblestar, but Brambleclaw too. I am actually enjoying pretty much every single scene with Elder Brambleclaw. But you know who else is really enjoying Elder Brambleclaw? Elder Brambleclaw, and that's the best thing about it. I was worried at first that he was going to seem begrudging about the decision, but they've actually painted him as kind of getting a bit jolly, you know, getting a little bit more comfortable with it, and that's nice. This could change any day with the feelings of the authors or the season or the day of the week, but I like him. Where he is now, what they've done with Elder Brambleclaw, I've been enjoying him. I've been enjoying, you know, seeing him start to tell a story in the Elder's Den and stuff like that. It's nice. Forced to record at 5 o'clock in the morning. And she starts talking about gosh darn Brambleclaw. When I talk about a character in a negative way, I'm not really trying to make a hit piece. I'm not trying to say, oh, this guy's so terrible, stop liking them. You know, I just can't feel that way at 32 years old. I cannot care how much somebody likes a character or doesn't like a character at 32 years old at this point. I cannot. Your value as a person's never going to be determined by if or not you like Elder Brambleclaw, you know? Maybe a decade ago I cared quite a bit, but I was angry about everything and also wrong all the time a decade ago, so eh. accidentally made the most cat image ever by having all of his fur be flying into Thornclaw's face and Thornclaw looking a little bit annoyed, but not actually annoyed enough to get up. What do I even have to say about Thornclaw? My favorite thing about Thornclaw is making fun of him. Actually, that should be super obvious by this point, considering that I had an entire stretch of time where I was making like 10 making fun of Thornclaw videos a week. And he really does live up to expectations. You expect somebody to say something absolutely terrible and it's always Thornclaw. Okay, that's not true. Lately it's always Cherryfall. Cherryfall's really picking up the Thornclaw mantle here. I feel the exact opposite about her mother Poppy Frost, obviously. But Cherryfall, I hope she gets worse. I hope she gets way worse. Maybe I can put an evil curse on Cherryfall by making 10 videos a week making fun of Cherryfall as well. Here's Moonpaw. I decided everything I decided about her design completely arbitrarily. I like the whole, enforcing that she's a chimera, assuming that she actually is a chimera, by making the golden spots to be longer haired. I think that this is actually a pretty common thing now, but I think that it's cute. I think that it's cute and I'm gonna go with it forever. Otherwise, Moonpaw was very cute and very easy. The only thing I struggled with was, when I'm using a darker color with an outlined brush like this, it becomes really obvious that the little outlines are in the way, and so I kind of messed with her face for like 5,000 years. Moonpaw this, Moonpaw that, it's clearly Moonkit, but, you know. Even if the Sunbeam Nightheart kids aren't facing the camera, I at least had to have Moonkit facing the camera if I was going to include her at all. So she's sitting here saying, "Wow, great-great-grandpa Brambleclaw, you actually impaled your brother in the neck?" And he's saying, "Yes, I remember it so fondly." Despite being a person who has a persona that has a crescent moon-shaped ear tufties, or spiral, I guess, more so lately, I completely forgot that Moonkit is supposed to have crescent moon-shaped ear tufties, but in retrospect, that might have just been something that the website said and not actually mentioned in the book, huh? Hey, Ocelot, do you want to do the commentary? Yeah? You want to do it? Okay. You're doing a great job. I agree. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I forgot to record myself drawing Shine Kit, in the same exact way that I forgot to record myself drawing Bramblestar's face. I just thought I had pushed the record button and I hadn't. Yeah, this is Ocelot, by the way. Ocelot he doesn't like it when I record. It stresses him out when I'm on the phone, too. It's one of his quirks, so I gotta keep one hand on Ocelot while I record. I gotta keep petting him. Anyway, so by the time I got to these guys, I was a little bit burned out on drawing cats, and you can really tell by the fact that Golden Paw is a mess. Golden Paw is just a complete and absolute mess, and he never really stops being a mess, but it's fine, we're fine, he's okay. We're only seeing him from the back anyway. Is he that important? He's not even really in the focus. It's fine, it's fine. Then I was done with all of the cats, and I think by the time I was done with all of the cats, it was around 12 a.m.-ish? Actually, I want to say that it was closer to like 11:30-ish when I was done with the cats, because I spent a really long time trying to straighten out this background. So from here I do a couple things. The first thing I do is make Brightheart and Cloudtail smaller. I'm pretty sure I just sized them down. It's because their heads and their faces were way, way bigger than the other characters. After that, I started just kind of vaguely rendering the background, trying to make it look more like a place that the characters were inside instead of just something that they're on top of. I understand that in real warrior cats, their beds of moss are more like little nests and less like a huge expanse of moss inside the Elder's Den, but I think I just kind of lost sight. I lost focus. I couldn't understand moss anymore, I was too far gone. Aside from some of the blocking in that I did on the background, at this point I had only used one brush in the entire image. I used the same brush for the sketch, and the cats, and the moss. In a few minutes, when you see me struggling with bushes or something, or whatever they end up being, I do end up trying to use like several other different brushes that aren't this brush, but then I still, in the end, end up going back to this brush. Oh, wait, here when I add some shading to the characters to make them look obviously more like they actually belong in the scene that they're in, I do smear I smear this brush, the brush that I'm calling this brush. I'm pretty sure it's named HHHHHHH in my lineup. I'm gonna check. Yes, it is. This brush named HHHHHH. I smear it with a, what used to be a watercolor blur, but I put a totally different texture in it and then changed every setting. I use a blur to make it look a little bit textured and sparkly. It's a little embarrassing how long I spent on these bush things. I was going to initially try and make them look like honeysuckle, but I gave up. Well, not so much gave up so much as realized how much time I was spending making them just look good in the composition of the picture to begin with, and then I really just didn't have any time to figure out their leaves or anything. The problem really was that I didn't factor them into my original, thumbnail of the image, or what color they would be, or how they would look, or anything like that. It was not on my mind. So no matter how light or how dark I made them, they looked wrong, you know? They didn't look like they belonged in this picture, and I guess to some extent that's because they didn't. I didn't plan this picture with them in mind, even though I did have them in mind, and had pictures of bushes to the side there that I did not end up using. You can tell that large portions of this video are quote-unquote unscripted because I say, you know, every 5 seconds. I would say, you can't tell me you know. But you can. You can go into the comments section and you can tell me that you know. Around here, I start going through all of my foliage brushes and stamps and stuff from the internet and try to see if anything could maybe look like those flowers, but I gave up pretty quickly on that. That said, some of them did make the bushes look a little bit more presentable. And here's the beautiful brush HHH again, as I not so delicately just kinda scribble all over everything with it. One of the very last things I do is try as hard as I can to make Shine Kit contrast more with the background, because they're just kind of blending in a little bit too much with this shadow. I would say I then mess with the contrast and the levels and the balance of the picture over and over again until I die, but what I was really doing over and over until I die is messing with the bushes, so whatever I'm doing here has absolutely nothing on that. Thornclaw and Brightheart look a bit little. I guess it's because those big fluffy cats look so massive. Granted, to be fair, when a cat is fluffy it just looks 10 times bigger than a cat that isn't fluffy. But also, if I was actually having conscious thoughts about this while drawing it, I probably would have made Cloudtail smaller than Brambleclaw, just because Brambleclaw is one of those cats who's just canonically large. Brambleclaw looks very sweet and cute in general. It's because I just go into kitty cat autopilot, you know? I'm drawing a kitty cat here. I gotta make a kitty cat pretty. I gotta make the kitty cat cute. It's the only thing my brain says all the time. And there you have it, the picture I painted yesterday. Ta-da!